Hi, welcome. Welcome everyone. Sorry, Lisa, did you say for me to go next?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome in everyone. Welcome to our clinical educator um, engagement event this afternoon. Thank you for everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules, your client schedule, your workload, your caseload, your lunch to be with us today. My name is Cheryl McGill. I've been a clinical coordinator at UBC for 9 years now. And I'm also the MSc program director of the school. And we have many people from our academic coordinator of it. Academic, help me out, Jamie.
Oh,
Oh,
Academic coordinators of clinical education.
thank you, team, with us today. I see Sasha, Darlene, Marcia, Bailey, and I think that might be it for now. But thank you for your support from our very amazing team.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm Jamie Nagy. I am the Senior Clinical Program Assistant here, and I help support the Academic Coordinators of Clinical Education team, along with my colleague Bailey, who is also here on the call.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And just for anyone who's come in late, again, my name is Lisa Luft. I'm one of the clinical coordinators as well on the team with Cheryl under Marcia. And yeah, we welcome you all here today. So we are very excited for this engagement event to share with you more information about access for clinical faculty to the UBC and the UVic libraries. This came about because last fall, the librarians were both talking with our students, and I thought, well, since this is a bonus for the clinical faculty as well, I thought it would be nice to share this information with a wider group because there's so much now that we can access, so much at our fingertips just by logging in on your computer. And I thought, why not share the information? And the coordination team agreed, and that brings us to today. We are very fortunate to have both Sarah McGill from UVic Library and Rachael Bradshaw from UBC Library. As many of you know, we have a distributed program now on Vancouver Island. So we have librarians at both sites, and I'll let them tell you more about what they do, but they represent the library services for the School of Audiology and Speech Sciences, and we welcome them in their time today. Thank you. And I'm going to pass it over to them.
All right, thank you so much, Lisa. I'm gonna get the presentation started for us today. I just have some slides to share, so we have something visual to look at, but we'll have chances to kind of do some like demoing as well, so you can kind of see rather than just hearing me explain how to access certain things. Yeah, we're really excited to get to chat with you guys today. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Could someone let me know, is that working? Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and make it big screen. If it wants to go. There it goes. All right. So again, thank you all so much for being here. We're really excited to chat with you. And apparently my Outlook is a little slow. Apologies. But hopefully that is able to pick itself up in just a second. Goodness. Almost there. Sorry about the delay. Maybe we can go ahead and introduce ourselves while we're waiting for this to load. I can go ahead and start. My name is, again, Rachael Bradshaw, and I am a librarian at UBC Woodward Library. I work on the Point Grey campus, and I support the Vancouver cohort of students and faculty and staff in the audiology and speech language pathology departments. I also coordinate library support, so things like organizing teaching sessions for students, and I also support other subject areas like physical therapy, occupational therapy, and our rehabilitation sciences, master and PhD programs. Sarah, would you like to say a few words about yourself as well?
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. So it's wonderful to be here. I'm so glad to meet all of you, and thanks for the invitation. And again, so glad we had this idea. So I am Sarah McGill. I am a health data librarian or a health librarian. I am the librarian for the speech language pathology distributed program at the University of Victoria on the island. Uh, so I work with the master's pathology students on the island. I am also the liaison librarian for some other areas, such as I am also the librarian for the island medical program, medical undergraduate degree, and the librarian for UVic neuroscience. And it's great to be here. I think I've covered everything for my intro.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sarah. It seems like it's finally decided to wake up, so we can go ahead and move forward. Um, So before we dive into the content of the presentation, of course, it's important to acknowledge the lands that we are on and presenting from and learning on today. So just wanted to quickly say, with gratitude, we acknowledge that the University of British Columbia Faculty of Medicine and its distributed programs, including the 4 university academic campuses, are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of Indigenous peoples around the province. Where I'm coming from, the Point Grey campus is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. This land has always been a place of learning for the Musqueam people, who for millennia have passed on their culture, history, and traditions from one generation to the next on this site. As well, we acknowledge and respect the Lekwungen, Songhees, and Squamish peoples on whose territory the Vancouver Island Speech Language Pathology Program is located, and the Lekwungen and Wasanich peoples whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. So just a brief overview of what we're going to cover. We introduced ourselves, and we're going to explore some resources available to you through curated guides, including the Audiology and Speech Sciences Research Guide. We'll also talk about what is available to you as an affiliate of UBC, as well as some interesting open access resources. And if there's time at the end, we also can demonstrate how some resources work, poke around in them, kind of up to your preference if there's anything you'd like us to explore. So we've already introduced ourselves. And I also want to give a second to Cheryl to discuss becoming a clinical faculty member if you're not already, because many of the resources we're going to discuss today do require a CWL to access. So Cheryl, would you like to take it away?
Sure, thank you. I think most of our attendees today are clinical faculty. If you're not yet clinical faculty, or if you know of anyone who would like to become clinical faculty, you can please go to our virtual community of practice, or our VCOP, and click on Get Involved. It's a tab at the very top, and the link is provided there. You can submit your name to Jamie Nagy. That is her email, clinical.assistant@audiospeech.ubc.ca. If you are eligible, Jamie will send you the application email, and if you're not quite yet eligible, she'll tell you the next steps. And then Jamie, do you want to remind everyone about the reappointment?
Yeah, thank you. So just very quickly, if anyone has received an email from me, or you are aware that your clinical faculty appointment is coming up for renewal on June 30th, please respond to my email. If you have any questions about the reappointment process and what is required for eligibility, please let me know. Like Cheryl mentioned, my email address is clinical.assistant@audiospeech.ubc.ca, and I will be happy to respond to any of your questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks to you both. So just going to the next slide. We thought we could start by talking about what librarians at UBC can do for you, because there's a lot of ways that maybe people don't always think about with how we can help with questions. So of course, we are always available anytime you have a question about the library, whether it's how do I log in, how do I access this resource, etc. But we also can answer questions about things like, I've made this search, but I'm wondering if I found everything, or have I found all the important papers? We can help you decide, where you might look for more literature on a topic if that's of interest. Also, ways to keep track of where you've searched and how you've done that. Finding copies of, or finding ways through the library website to access full text articles, even if you found it on something like Google Scholar, for example, is something that we can help with. We also can talk to you about storing and preserving data, as well as looking at different sources of information like journals and websites to help you determine if it is a trustworthy source of information. You likely have a lot of experience with that already, but just that is something that sometimes folks run into. If there's something that we have, or if you're affiliated with a hospital library they also don't have, you can also suggest resources for us to purchase. And we can also help you with things like using specialized software. Like, for example, we provide access to Covidence for knowledge synthesis projects. So any of these sorts of questions, along with the usual, can you help me find a book? Can you help me find a journal article? Are all things that we are very happy to chat about. A couple of just caveats though, at UBC, librarians cannot perform lit searches for you. We just unfortunately simply don't have the capacity. We have a lot of folks who we help. And as well, we kind of tend to focus on more of a learning aspect when it comes to our consults, for example. But we can help you to create your own search guided with us. And also save that search, save your literature search and set up journal alerts so you would get emails about new articles on a topic of interest. We also don't do full text article retrieval, like downloading a PDF and sending it. Just again, we don't really have the capacity for that. So what we can do is if there's an article you're interested in and you're not able to say, just look it up on the website and find it, we can help you determine if UBC has access to that article you're interested in and help you make an interlibrary loan request. If not, we'll help you track it down and get access to it. I hope that just kind of clarifies things. I don't want to leave it that we can't do this, but we can do a lot of things. There's just a couple of things that are not quite in our capacity to do. So the main way that most of you will probably be accessing the library is by searching on the library website. You can use this link, or you can honestly just Google UBC Library and it should be the first page that pops up. But our library homepage is kind of the portal into all things UBC Library. So you can use the summon search or the search bar on the front page of the website to look through all of our resources for different topics, or searching by type of resource. You can also apply certain limits to narrow your search as well. So maybe I'll show you quickly what that looks like. I've just pulled it up, but again, you can just type in UBC Library website and it should pop up immediately. One tip that I have that was on the slides, but I just want to say out loud, is before you go ahead and start searching anything, I would recommend that you log into the library website. You don't have to log in to search, but if you do log in first, you'll be able to see all of the resources that you have access to, whereas there's some that might be hidden if you're not logged in. If you have a CWL, you can go up here to log in and click Open Athens Login. And then it will load up and it will show you a couple of options when it decides to load. I apologize that my technology is apparently very slow today. So you're going to want to use this CWL login up here. Click on that and it will take you to a login page. I'm already logged in, so I'm not going to bother clicking on that. I'll just go back to the home page. While we're waiting for that to load, a couple of things that you can look at the top as well is if you're near the UBC Vancouver campus, you can view this Hours and Locations tab to see information about the different branches and how, like what time they're open, what types of collections they have, etc. There are also things like research help, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, but we have things that we have research guides that are kind of a tailored page of resources specifically on a certain topic. And we also have things like the Ask Us button here, which will take you to a chat that is staffed by librarians from UBC as well as those around the province. So it is it's called Ask Away. And I just want to say it's real people and they can help you with sort of navigational questions if those come up. But of course, you're always welcome to reach out to Sarah or myself as well. So when it comes to searching, this is we call it the summon search, but you can just call it library search. This is kind of the main search area. You can search general to find any type of resource, but if you want to look more specifically, you could limit it to only looking for books, going directly to a database that you know about for doing research, or you could look by journal title. I'm going to do a quick search I just also saw a couple of things coming up in the chat, so I just want to check. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to do a quick search for something that might be related to what you're interested in. I'm just going to do something, again, simple. Vertigo and audiology. I'm doing that together just to show that I want articles about vertigo and audiology at the same time by using and to make them go together. I'll just do a general search, and when I click search, it's going to take me to this page that has all of the different types of resources listed. So you can see we got a pretty big number of results, which isn't super surprising because my search was pretty general. You could be more specific if you'd like to narrow down that search. But there are a couple of other things that you can do as well to narrow it down and get a smaller number of results. You can use these limits on the side to say something like, I only want peer-reviewed articles, for example. That would limit it down pretty significantly. You can also filter by content type. So you could select just journal articles or books and book chapters, anything that would be useful for you. You can quickly limit it to those. You can also limit by publication date. So something like the last 5 to 10 years is another quick way to get rid of a lot of older resources if that's not what you're looking for. If you need further narrowing, you can always narrow by discipline and subject terms as well. I don't tend to use those personally as much, but they are there as an option. I was going to show you how much it narrows, but I'm a little afraid that it's going to load for like another 2 minutes. So I'm just going to say when I was messing about with it earlier, it really narrows things down pretty significantly once you start using those limits. Another thing to just note is, let's say we saw this article and we said, this is my perfect article. I want to save it and read it and use it. You can click on this PDF button to download the PDF immediately and start reading offline. You also could read it online if, say, you don't want to take up storage space on your computer. And then you can also browse the journal that it's found in by clicking here to see what maybe there's other relevant articles there, for example. If you want to save the link for later, I would recommend clicking on this permanent link button. And that is because if you just copy paste the link from this top search bar, it won't be a permanent link and it will kind of just be broken, essentially. It won't take you to your article. So this permanent link will always take you right back to the UBC library website and the article you're looking for. You can also email it to yourself if that's useful, or auto-generate a citation in your preferred format, like APA, for example. This is pretty good. I always recommend just having a human eye on it if you were going to, say, submit it for something. Most of these auto-generators are mostly good, but you just need to make sure like the capitalization is right, for example. So that is a quick overview of the library website, the general search. I just want to pause really quickly and ask, does anyone have any questions so far or anything I went too fast over? You can feel free to unmute or pop it in the chat. Okay. I'm not seeing too much, but you can feel free to shout at any time if I've missed something.
I'm watching
Sarah.
the chat too, Rachel.
Thank you so much. That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go back to our slides. The next piece we're going to be covering is the Audiology and Speech Language Pathology Research Guide. So as I mentioned before, the research guides are basically a curated list of resources for a specific subject. So we do have one for audiology and speech language pathology specifically. You can find it at this link, or again, if you just Google something like UBC Library Audiology, that should be the first thing that pops up. And it's audiology and speech language pathology are on the same guide, so you won't be missing speech language pathology resources there. This guide, which I'll show in just a second, contains things like key databases, books, anatomy tools, and other guides and tutorials that might be useful. It's just kind of a nice list of different resources that might be useful to your subject area all in one spot. So if there's something that you were to bookmark at the end of the day today, I'd probably recommend it be this. I'll just quickly show it. I've got it pulled up here already. So on this guide, you can kind of navigate it using this sidebar information here. Where you're probably going to want to start looking at things is this Finding Information tab. We have information about, for example, what databases are typically used to find audiology and speech language pathology journals, kind of the core databases here that we recommend taking a look at for articles. We also have information about where you can find books and ebooks on this topic, as well as theses. We have sections about different types of tools beyond finding journals and ebooks, so things like anatomy and physical examination videos, tools, and texts, as well as other guides and tutorials that may be useful for you, and some evidence-based practice resources. Finally, you probably all know plenty about this, but just in case, we have some professional association websites there listed, in case that's of any use, and the contact information for Sarah and myself. So would highly recommend, bookmarking this. It's just a really good one-stop place to go for when you need information from UBC about these topics. So I quickly covered what the types of things that are listed on the guide. But what actually do we provide access to at UBC Library? With a UBC CWL, you can access a really wide variety of resources, including gold standard databases and journals for these subject areas, especially Medline via Ovid and CINAHL, which stands for Cumulative Index for Nursing and Allied Health Literature, are two of the premier databases that we recommend using if you're looking for journal articles. Particularly CINAHL has a good number of the key audiology and speech language pathology journals in it. So we do provide free access to those databases. We also, aside from just doing a big search on the library website, if you want to do a quicker, more targeted search for books that you could be looking at for your topics, we provide access to LWW Health Library. This is just a book collection that has sections that focus specifically on speech language pathology and audiology. So you can take a look in there to do a more kind of focused search. Although these books also would come up in a library search, you might just have to find them among the other resources. We provide access to point of care tools, which some of you might be familiar with, including Dynamed and Clinical Key through UBC. We also provide some interesting things. Like I mentioned, there are some anatomy tools. I really like Anatomy TV. I think it's a very interesting tool. Maybe it's just because I'm not a practitioner myself, but it's basically 3D models of the human body that you can examine by part. You can kind of get into the different layers of like skin, muscles, bones. I find it really interesting. And they have some pretty good images of things like face, jaw, ear, neck. So especially if you have like a student, for example, this might be a useful tool for you to view. If you're involved in knowledge synthesis work for UBC, you could also access our Covidence resource, although I will note that a UBC email is required to access this one. And we also have fun stuff. So things like streaming video for, just kind of if you want to watch a movie, it might be available through UBC Library. Or we also have a Great Reads collection. Our Great Reads collection focuses more specifically on things like science, popular medicine, those sorts of things. But there's all sorts of kind of fun reads available as well with the CWL. Okay, I'll keep sharing my slides if that's helpful. But Sarah, I'll hand it over to you to talk about accessing print materials.
Yes, and I see there's a question about what is the loan period for clinical faculty. I will have to check back on that, but it would be on the UBC website. Usually it's on the order of months, right, Rachel?
Yeah, I can double check
Like a
that.
term?
Off the top of my head, I believe it would be more on the order of months than weeks. Like faculty have a longer borrowing period, but I can definitely double check and get the exact time.
Okay. So thanks so much, Rachel. Again, there's so many different resources you have access to. A lot of them, check out the LibGuide that Rachel just showed, and you can ask us questions if you're not sure about where to find anything. I'm going to switch to talking about print materials. So anyone from the general public, you can walk in person to any public university library, the one that you're closest to, whether that's UVic, UBC, UBCO, you can walk in and view and work with the print books at that location. And usually there's photocopiers or scanners there that you can use for a small fee. So never hesitate to walk in and visit. Like, the libraries are open to everybody. For clinical faculty members with a UBC ID, you can borrow, meaning take home physical books, print books from UBC libraries, but first you have to apply for a barcode. So you would follow the instructions for clinical faculty at this link once you have your clinical faculty account, and you will have your CWL number and your employee ID number required for that. Then we're going to follow up on what your actual loan period is. Usually a UVic, it's something like a term. I'm not sure for UBC. You can apply also if you're not clinical faculty, if you remain an educator level, or you can also let people in your community know. You can apply for a community borrower card at most public university libraries, which also allows you to borrow print books. The final thing I want to say is, if you still are wanting to find a physical item, a book, and you can't through UBC, you can also check out what's available through your public library. If it's not at the public library, public libraries also are able to provide a free service for interlibrary loans. Usually this is for books, not so much journals. But it's wonderful. It's a wonderful free service. They will check libraries near you and be able to order that in for you. Maybe next slide.
Yes, and also I just wanted to say, I just double checked, and it appears that faculty, staff, and grad students at UBC can borrow print books for up to a term. I believe this applies to clinical faculty as well, but if you're unsure if you are borrowing a print book, you can always ask the person at the desk how long that loan period is. I do believe it should be a term, though. All right, I'll switch to the next slide for you, Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, so there's so many wonderful open access resources available for you. So these are open, free of charge. You don't need a UBC account or a UVic account. And people that you are working with will also be able to access them. So wonderful resources. And again, many of these, if not all of these, are also linked to on the UBC Speech Audiology LibGuide. So the first is PubMed, which many of you may be familiar with. It provides free access to the Medline database by the National Institutes of Health in the US. It has a filter for systematic reviews. So when you do a search, there's an option on the side to filter to the study type systematic reviews. They've also, I understand, just for new articles, added one for evidence synthesis too, which is great. The articles within PubMed, so the search results that are coming up, are not necessarily available for free. Many of them are. The link will come up on the search results pages. So let us know if you're having difficulty in finding any of those, or you can go back to some of the options I'm going to talk about next. There is also SpeechBite, which is a wonderful free database for searching for evidence in speech language pathology specifically. And if you're not familiar with that, let us know and we can give a demo at the end. And this is a great resource that we've shared with the students in the programs as well. The TRIP database is a free interface to search for a variety of types of evidence. What's great about it is it includes guidelines, it includes evidence syntheses, it also links to things like clinical trials, textbooks, reports by health agencies that aren't necessarily in journal publications. So a really wonderful place to search in addition to searching PubMed or journal resources. I'm also going to mention, if you're wishing that you had access to some of the bigger databases and you don't, or your colleagues don't, check out lens.org or OpenAlex. And on lens.org, you go to a section called Scholarly Works. These are big open access multidisciplinary databases, meaning like they cover sciences, humanities, biology, health, all kinds of disciplines with a variety of advanced search options, just like a subscription database, and a variety of types of academic literature. And both of these allow you to filter to reviews to help get to more synthesized information. The Cochrane Library, I always like to point out because as a librarian, when I'm searching for evidence, I always like to see what's available for systematic reviews, and Cochrane has gold standard systematic reviews. Not all of them are available to read for free online, but many of them are, and they're excellent. And finally, Google Scholar. So if you haven't searched Google Scholar in addition to Google, it's a great resource for finding journal articles as well as patents. But for this group, journal articles that are for finding journal articles, sorry. So don't discard it just because it's Google, because it is a really great place to start if you're having trouble finding information. I find the sorting and ranking works really beautifully, and it brings what you're looking for up to the top quite quickly. And from there, you can check out to see what's been cited or articles that are related to your favorite articles. I finally want to mention for Google Scholar is not all resources in Google Scholar are necessarily peer-reviewed. So for Google Scholar, but then also all of these, including PubMed, remember to use your critical appraisal and critical assessment skills to see, to determine more about the article if it might be of quality. Finally, Zotero is a really useful tool for you if you are writing. It allows you to organize your papers and quickly generate citations. I also use it to sort of keep my citations organized. If I have references I like on certain topics and I make different folders for them, I store them there, and then I can quickly like get a citation and send them to students. So just a really nice way to organize research. I see that Rachel's added, yep, Google Scholar is also great for multidisciplinary research. Okay, next slide. So a lot of what Rachel and I can support you with is finding materials and publications for the classes and the students. For those of you that are conducting your own research, I also want to point out, don't forget you have libraries through your health authorities. So many hospital authorities grant employees access to a variety of a variety of medical databases and point of care tools. Many of them have libraries and librarians. So check with your specific health authority or your hospital what you have access to. Some hospital libraries might be able to run in-depth or at least quick literature searches for you, send you results. So check with your library to learn more. So there is in Highland Health, they have a library system. I'm sure you can get familiar with the libraries in your own health authorities. And if any of you are with like a cancer agency or BC Cancer, they'll usually have a librarian as well. I see there's some great comments in the chat that Zotero is great for storing papers and allows you to write notes. Yes, you can add your own notes for each item too. Yeah, great rather than having some things in your document folder, some things printed out, some things in multiple folders, you can keep them all in one spot. Okay. Any questions for me? And next slide. Okay, so finally, if you want to contact us, you can book an appointment with us or email us at the emails shown on the screen. You can also go to the speech audiology LibGuide, and that has our emails and the link to book an appointment with us on that page. If you are in Vancouver, you can go to the Woodward Library Reference Desk at UBC, and their office hours and general emails available there. And you can also come by in person at UVic. I work in the McPherson Library. You can come drop by and ask for me, or you can go to the Ask Us desk and they'll be able to set you up um, with, with resources as well. Finally, you can contact Ask Away. The link is there. And as Rachel mentioned, that's a chat service with longer open hours, and it's a real person. So don't worry that it's a chatbot. It's a real person. I think that's all. Maybe the last slide is, do you have any questions for us? And it's been great to be here. I know we've covered a lot.
Maybe I'll stop sharing for just a second so we can see if there are any folks with questions. Oh, yes. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, Askaway is usually open during terms. So unfortunately, right now it's closed, but it'll open back up again soon in May. They take a little break. A lot of the workers on there, there's also there's librarians, but there's also student librarians. So some of them are probably enjoying their breaks. Does anyone have any questions or any of the resources that we've talked about that you'd like to learn more about?
Hi, I'm Darlene. I'm one of the clinical coordinators at UBC. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about Anatomy TV and how we access that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I'm just going to go to the website and let me go ahead and share my screen. 1 second. So you can access Anatomy TV a few different ways. Probably the simplest would just be Googling UBC Anatomy TV. It should pop up as a resource page, but you can also access it through the library website by doing a search for Anatomy TV in this general section, or through the library, the Audiology and Speech Sciences Research Guide. I have a link to it right here. It'll probably prompt you to log in with your CWL if you're not already logged in. I believe I am already logged in, so it might just pop up for me. I can ignore that.
Lisa's just asked in chat if anyone wants to see anything else demoed. Let us know too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm not going to take the survey right now, but basically the tool looks like this, if that's useful to see. So it'll have some things popping up for you here. Sorry, a lot of things popping up at once, but essentially you can do a few different types of searching. You can just look by system of a piece of the body, for example. We can probably find muscles of the face, for example, or skeletal system. I believe you can also go to things like functional anatomy, maybe not as useful for this group, but if, for example, I work with physios, you can put a body in a yoga pose, for example, and see what muscles would be activated, which is kind of neat. Maybe let me just go to the muscular system here. Just popping up over here. And then this is, human body. I'm just going to let it load for a second. And then I can go to something like the head and get a little bit more information about, for example, muscles of mastication. There will be different, they'll give things like the origin, insertion, and action for each of the muscles here. You can also kind of if there's a part where you're like, that looks interesting, maybe I'll go to the side where we can see the jaw. I can click on attachment of the masseter and it should pop up with a bit more information here. Yep, there we go. So you can kind of just explore in this way. aside from like the 3D modeling tool, there are also different types of resources on here. There's some video content like using cadavers, as well as like I believe there are options to like quiz yourself as well in this section. So it could be really useful if you have students on board and you're trying to show them something specific. Yeah, it's a really interesting tool. I've played with it a little bit, but I would encourage you to explore and kind of see what might be useful to you as well. Yeah, I'm just gonna check the chat.
There's a question about Zotero on iPads. Does Zotero work well on iPads to your knowledge? But actually, I want to check that okay, I'm not seeing any questions about Anatomy TV. Actually, I'm wondering, like, if you get on Anatomy TV, if you get it like set up the way you want, is there an ability to download an image, or do you would take a screenshot?
I believe you can download. There is like a download button on the side, but you also could very easily screenshot too, just depending on what's easier for you.
Okay. The question, does Zotero work well on iPads? I have not tried it yet myself, so I just replied, I will do some poking around, other than it might be the features might be limited when you go to the App Store. It tells you what it can do. It doesn't say what it can't do, but I'm assuming if it's not there, it might have some more limitations. Um, I would say try it and see what it does. Yeah, or Google to see how other people have found it. Unless Rachel, you know.
I'm just looking at Zotero's, they have like Zotero actually has really good like guidance and like message boards so where people answer
Yes.
questions just as a note. It looks like there is as Sarah was saying, a Zotero iPad app. Um, yeah, there might be some functionality limitations. I haven't personally tried it myself either, apologies. But we can definitely poke around and share a bit more information after the session if that's useful. To answer your question, Marcia, Zotero doesn't require any UBC login. It's just a free online tool that you can use. So yeah, no UBC affiliation required for that one.
Just an email. And not even a UBC email. You can set it up with.
Oh, and also thanks, Cheryl. Yes, saving image and text on Anatomy TV. That's great.
I'm just looking up pictures of the cochlea and the larynx right now. So I'm doing a little bit of demo. It's pretty neat.
Jamie's going to get back to Marie about her CWL specific question. Booking for study spaces. I'm just going to check if that includes clinical faculty or if that's only regular faculty. I'm not sure if it includes clinical faculty.
I'm just double checking as well. I think yes. I think as long as you have a CWL, it's probably okay. I believe that's how you book it. It says Research Commons specifically are only for graduate students and faculty. Those are in Turner Library, and they have some technologies in them. I can double check on that as well if that's available for clinical faculty, but I believe it works the same way if you have like a UBC CWL.
Rachel, sorry, I was the one who asked that question and I only sent it to you and Sarah, but just for everyone else's understanding, I was asking if study spaces were reservable by clinical faculty in any of either of the libraries, like rooms or meeting spots. I just didn't know if they could.
Sorry, that was my bad, Lisa. I know it says direct message. I didn't notice right away.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just curious if anyone had that question.
Just looking for through the terms and conditions really quickly here. Sorry, on the side.
If you're meeting a student there, you could have the student book it as well as an option.
It does look like they tend to prefer if you have a UBC email address, but I think you can get a UBC email address if you want to. And here, maybe I'll just share this with folks so you can see it as well. Yeah, I believe typically, yeah, I think typically they prefer it to be like educational study space rather than meeting space. But again, if you were happen to be on campus meeting a student, you could have a student book or you could try to book as well. And yeah, that would be a good option. There in most of the libraries, there is bookable study space, including in Woodward, which is where most of your books are. I'm just double checking. Did anyone have any other questions?
I'm curious too, if anyone has a favorite resource they want to share, they can pop it in the chat and say, like from what we've shown today or uh, others that they know about, you can pop it in the chat and just say, I love or I like this.
We are also very happy to hear about things that you find useful, maybe that we didn't know about.
Did you want a demo of Dynamed or Cinol or Tripped? And I'm assuming you all are familiar with SpeechBite because
Totally
that's a great
optional.
one. Yeah, totally
Um,
optional.
CINAHL would be more of like, yeah, finding journal articles. Trip is again great for like there's journal articles and evidence synthesis, but also things like clinical practice guidelines. I don't know if folks use point of care tools in their practice, but they do. They're really good kind of summaries of conditions that are intended to be used at the point of care. So, if someone's in the room next door and needing treatment, you could do a quick look if it's a condition you're unfamiliar with. Any of those sound interesting? We also don't have to, but if anyone wants to have a look, we're happy to do that.
Maybe TRIP and specifically the clinical practice guidelines, what that could look like.
Sure. Sarah, did you want to do that or would you like me to? I'm fine either way.
I can do that. Let me just share my screen. Give me a minute. Okay, so Trip is at tripdatabase.com. You'll notice it is a .com. It is a freemium model in terms of you can use it for free. It's open access, but there's certain features that they will ask for a subscription. It is a very reasonably priced subscription. I believe it's like 55 US a year if you find you're using it constantly. And they have a great blog. It's a great group. Um, of health researchers very interested in allied health professions as well. So what you would do is do a search. So let's say I want maybe dysphagia. I can spell it right. Always in front of a live audience, I make a typo. Okay, so when the search results come up, and I've done a very general search, it's given a lot of different results here. What I really love about Trip is on the side, they have groups of different publication types and groups by evidence synthesis level. So right up at the top, if you want some kind of evidence synthesis, that's all the green options. And you'll see they even have the hierarchy of evidence here with the little green, meaning it's the evidence syntheses are the green ones. So to see the guidelines, you would click on guidelines, and it did it kind of quickly there, but it's going to sort for those specifically. Now I only have 500 different results. And then from there, you can narrow further or sort display the ranking in different ways by date and so on. I've done kind of a broad search, so maybe I want to talk about dysphagia after stroke. Again, limit to guidelines. I'm going to have fewer, and then you'll see if you paid, that's where I'd be able to limit to by country, which is really handy. But usually what I'm doing is I'm narrowing my search down enough that I'm not having 227 to screen through. You can also see I really like how they've added this newer feature for the secondary evidence section specifically, where they've tried to do for some of these some kind of assessment. So you can see this one by NICE, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence in the UK. They've done an assessment of this guideline is very evidence-based. It's showing ranking near the top of that, as opposed to a narrative-based evidence review behind the guideline. And this one from Canada is not assessed yet. So that's also a really handy feature that this database has. Other things, they have different types of regulatory guidance and other types of studies and information on the side here. So they do have patient information leaflets from different countries, which is very handy. They also have, if there's any ongoing systematic reviews, textbooks I haven't used a lot. A lot of the time I'm coming here and checking out the guidance. They also have an advanced search. There are some additional features if you just make a login you have access to as well. They also have a Pico search, which is wonderful for the students. They are very excited to see that. A note of caution for the Pico search is it's very narrow. Behind the scenes, they're doing a lot of narrowing, like possibly limiting to title only. So that's important to be aware of. And immediately when I do a similar search here, actually, let me think. Let me see. I don't know if anyone knows an intervention for dysphagia. You can call one
Can
out.
you type in the Masako, M-A-S-A-K-O?
M-A-S-A-K-A-O. Whoops. A-O or
M-A,
just O?
sorry, just O.
Just O.
Masako.
Okay, I heard. Sorry, I had an extra A.
Sorry.
Nope. So I'm not even going to fill in the rest of it. And what it will do is it'll combine those for me. And you can see already it's really brought it down. Well, probably also because of the Masako. And I can see, okay, well, what guidelines? Oh, no guidelines mention it in the title and abstract anyway. Okay, but then maybe there's some other results there. So this is where it's quite narrow. You could go back. This is a good example, maybe. Is Masako used for stroke or
It's
just
a
any?
it's a treatment management for dysphagia, not just
Okay.
stroke.
So I'm going to combine using Boolean operators, and that brings down a lot fewer. Again, I'm not seeing any guidelines that mention it up front, maybe within the guidelines. But that will bring up some results that mention it. Yeah, this is about the Masako maneuver. They do link to these clinical Q&As, which are also, I forgot to mention those, really neat. They are written by the TRIP team. And just move this over. It's going to give you a disclaimer here in that you're responsible for critically evaluating the information, of course. And then they'll give you a really nice evidence summary. Yeah. Does that help? Is there anything else people would want me to show for this? You can see past for this ask trip specifically, you can see past questions here.
Oh, sorry. We did have one question in the chat, Sarah, just asking if we can access the pro advanced research content from TRIP as clinical faculty or no. Unfortunately, UBC doesn't subscribe to this one. This TRIP is a free resource to access, but yeah, we unfortunately don't provide access to the pro features as part of UBC library.
Yeah.
but a lot of what you need is available through the free feature anyway. So hopefully that helps.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else people would like me to show? Or Rachel?
I think you've covered TRIP really nicely, so thank you. Unless anyone else has other questions.
It's too bad I don't see speech pathology here. Maybe this one. Yeah.
We have just a couple minutes left, so just if anyone else has any final questions as well, we are really happy to chat. Or if you want to ask us later, you're very welcome to send us an email or again, book a meeting with us. We're really happy to chat. Any last questions? If not, I just want to say a big thank you for inviting us to be here today. We are really excited to connect with you, get to know you a little bit better, and yeah, just talk about how we can support your research and your work and what's available to you as clinical faculty. So thanks for being here. And again, it was really lovely to chat today.
Yes, I think I can say on behalf of the school, and I know as sort of a bit of a dated clinician myself, that things have changed and what you can access from the library just at your fingertips, as I said, is just so much wider than it was back in the day when we had to come to the libraries and get all our material in person. So this is exciting. I think it's really nice to be walked through the resources and the sites and links. So we really, really appreciate your very thorough explanation. And the slides, I think, will be a wonderful resource. And they will be posted as well on our virtual community of practice. And this recording will be available if any colleagues of yours would like to watch and then learn a little bit more about our library services. Thank you so much, Rachel and Sarah, and to Jamie and Bailey for supporting us today and taking care of the recording, and for all of you for sharing your lunch hour with us.
Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
This was
you.
Lisa Luff's idea. So a huge shout out to Lisa for hosting and bringing this to fruition. So thanks, Lisa.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great
Bye.
day.
Have a good day.
Have a good